So we're going to complete this today, and I'm going to go back and talk about a few things that are pivotal that we covered in prior weeks, in case you weren't here, in case you forgot, in case the snow did something to your brain or you slept since then. So you'll remember that some of the pivotal concepts that come to science of mind really were not part of the belief of just Ernest Holmes. He was a man who was incredibly learned. He didn't have any formal education much, but he studied and he read everything he could get his hands on about world religions, about philosophy, about science, and he took the very best that the world had to offer down through the ages, and he pulled that together, and he said that is what science of mind is. It is those common threads, it is those common teachings. And so we're going to look at some of those. One of those that's a big thing, and you'll remember this, is that Ernest used all kinds of different names for that thing that in some arenas is called God. He used some titles that were pretty bizarre, I think. First cause. We don't have the symbol up there yet. Well, wait a minute. First cause.
It's up there.
Is it up there? Oh, it is up there. Okay. Well, we're going to have a bigger one in a minute. Ultimate stuff. That's another one I really like. Ultimate stuff. Okay, the ultimate. I got the ultimate stuff, okay, today when I went out and around. Universal mind. The power back of creation. The thing itself. And I want you to know that when I walked in the doors of this teaching many years ago, I would not have dared to call that which I referred to as God, the thing, or it, but, you know, things have changed. Ernest also, if you pick the text up, what you find is he capitalizes the things he thinks are important, and I love that. I do that myself now in my own writing because it really speaks to me as a way of recognizing that wholeness within the regularness. So Ernest recognized science of mind as a pulling together of the highlights of the thoughts of the ages and seeing what they add up to. He also recognized this as very action-oriented. We just finished Winter Feast for the Soul, which was a beautiful, expansive journey in 40 days of committing to 40 minutes of spiritual practice each day. And we had, gosh, dozens of spiritual practices from which to choose from. Yesterday, for the closing, we experienced yoga with Karina and meditation. And then we all went to lunch at Lulu's, and we decided that eating is a spiritual practice. Well, why wouldn't it be? Especially when you do it from a place of joy, with food that is loved as it is prepared. It was a wonderful experience. We understand that spiritual practice is what forms everything else that is. And we get it, that in this teaching, we go from a place of trying to cram a few minutes of spiritual practice into our busy day to having our day revolve around those minutes, and how different that creates our lives, how amazing it is. We also recognize, and I have to say that I love Ernest for this, growing up a little girl in a mainstream teaching, this blew me away, that the universe, that thing we call God, doesn't play favorites. It doesn't give to one and take away from another. And I have to tell you that when I first got that, a false world that I had carried for many years, shattered and it left. And I'm so grateful it's gone. Thank you for what it is. Yeah. We get it that the universal mind contains everything. That it is all possibility. It's limitless. It's the ultimate of everything. To it, all things are possibility. And so we consider the science of mind symbol. Let's see the next slide there, Kathy, which is partially up there on the wall. The components that I think we need to indelibly burn into our little brains. The three parts: cause, which, if moves into universal law, it impacts universal law, and it results in an effect in health, in wealth, in work, in relationships. It shows up as the body of our affairs. And that stuff that is causal is everything that we issue from: words, beliefs, thoughts, feelings, the stuff that we're conscious of, the stuff that we're not conscious of, all of it. So if you don't like what is going on in your world, what are you going to change? You're going to go back to that causal place. You're going to go, what's in my heart, what's in my mind, And what am I saying? What am I putting out there? And you will see things change almost immediately. It's pretty amazing how that can happen. I had amazing experiences this morning with this, as a matter of fact. I came in here and I set up the computer and I turned everything on and the computer wouldn't work. And I was like, okay. Said a few words that, were causal. Probably. Not the kind of causal we'll refer to here, okay? And so I started fiddling with the projector, and it wouldn't work. And I'm like, wait a minute, now I got the computer working and the projector won't work. What is going on here? So I just said, everything, all of life, whether it works or not, it all comes to me right now. And it comes easily, it comes joyously. It comes in all its glory, okay? I just stood there and knew it. And I walked away from it, and I walked back over, and I said a few other words. And so I unplugged everything, and I started it again, and here we go, okay? Here we go. It's amazing. We are told in the Bible, in Christianity, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. What you are putting out is going to come back to you in form. Yeah, it's phenomenal. This law, this universal law, it works for us by flowing through us. We are a part of it. So if I think of something, what happens is the law says yes. You all know that. We've been there and we've talked about the fact that the law only has one answer. That answer is always yes. Parts of my spiritual essence go forth and are planted somewhere out there in something, I guess we could call it the future. And what do they become? They become that thing that I have spoken, that thing I have felt, that truth, whether it's true or not, that I have claimed. My world becomes that. It's amazing. So the stuff that's happening in our world, it isn't things that are done to us by a foreign deity. It is only as close as the next thought, the next beat of the heart. Henry Ford knew this. He said the man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he can't are both right. Anything that you are thinking about, Carol and I had a conversation about that this morning. She's reading a wonderful book about science of mind, and she was telling me how the author tells you to put yourself to sleep at night and to be very conscious of what you're putting in your subconscious as you go to rest. Because if you don't believe what you're saying, what you don't believe is what's going to show up, the opposite of what you're trying to bring forth. So think about that. If we have a child like Janice is, and that child is taught that the world is a good and friendly place, that child is going to believe the world is a good and friendly place and go out there to experience the world as a good and friendly place. If we are taught that the world is not hospitable, not loving, not trustworthy, what will we have? We will have that as our experience. So I also remember that this process is always going on. The universe is always creating. It can't stop, because if it did, we wouldn't be here anymore. We are a part and parcel of its creation. So if it stops creating, all of this stops being. Not just us, the whole shebang, the planet, the moons, the stars, all of it, gone. The universe must continue this process, and we are always continuing this creative process. It never stops, even in our sleep. Have you ever had a question on your mind when you went to bed and awakened with the answer? Maybe it wasn't the answer you thought was going to be the answer, but it was an answer. Yeah, that creative process is always happening and always coming forth. When we look at creation and creating, here's the thing, guys. The universe didn't make this a guessing game. These spiritual principles are written not only in every word, but in every season and in every process and every practice. Think about the experience that goes on just with us humans from conception through gestation through birth. That is creation. And, you know, some of its finest, obviously. It happens in nature, too. I walked out the back door yesterday, and I'm not much of an outdoor person, and I'm way no kind of outdoor person when it's cold. And I knew it wasn't very cold because I didn't have the heat turned up to 95 in the house. But, you know, I walked out and I didn't plan to be out there. Well, I went to the trash can and I came back, and as I was coming back, I saw this little glimpse of deep, just a royal purple there in the total brown where my crocus had started to come up. They weren't quite open. Actually, I went back out yesterday and they had opened up. But I took a picture and posted it on Facebook. Some of you commented on that. You know, that creative thing is going on all the time. Even when we think there is no hope. Even when we think, I can't do this anymore. I don't know how to get back up after a setback or a problem or a pain. It's always happening. It's always moving forth. Happening. All of the time. All of our feelings, our beliefs, our consciousness, all of it is going forth. We're birthing the next experience in our lives. As soon as we begin to focus on something, God parts of ourselves shoot forth, go out there, become that thing, and stand there waiting for the rest of us to catch up. Yeah, it's phenomenal. And so we also will recall, we talked a little about prayer, I think, last time that we ventured down this lane. We talked about prayer that is known as spiritual mind treatment or mental treatment. And a lot of folks say, why do you have that name for it? That's just so cumbersome and weird. Well, at the time that Ernest Holmes was alive and all of this was happening, he wanted people to understand. You could go to a practitioner such as Carol or myself. You could sit in the silence and do this work and treat for yourself and experience something that was just as powerful and worthy as a treatment you might have gone to a doctor or a hospital and paid large sums of money for. He wanted people to understand there was no difference there. And this whole idea of understanding that we create our reality, the original point of issue comes out of doing that in the arena of health. It was science of mind that said, wait a minute, we don't just live and have bodies. We have financial bodies or affairs. We have relationships. We have creative self-expression in the world. All of these arenas can benefit from that thing we know as, that we call spiritual mind treatment. So when a practitioner, anybody, you or me or anyone, licensed or not, does this, we speak the word, we claim a condition, and we understand that we are able to look at a wrong condition with the knowledge that we can change it if we don't doubt ourselves. For me, the crux of this teaching has to do with what is looking back at me when I look in the mirror. Because if I don't believe it about me, it isn't going to come forth. And if I know it about me, there's nothing on the force of this planet, natural or otherwise, that can stop it. And I know that. It's powerful. It's amazing. A lot of people know that. I was watching Joel Osteen last night. I got to tell you, I love Joel. If you live here in the Sylva area and you have public television, you can catch him at 8:30 on Saturday nights. And sometimes, you know, he's just too Christian and too oriented toward a male God and some of the kind of things that we have moved away from in this teaching. But other times he speaks and I can hear science of mind just popping through every sentence and every word. Well, last night he told a story about his mother who was in her 80s, and the deal was that he had spoken somewhere out of town, and that was a Saturday night, and they flew back very late. They got back to their local airport at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and he and his mother and his brother got off the plane, and they went out to the parking lot to get their vehicles, and his mother's car would not start. And so he and his brother got in there and they, you know, jiggled things and wiggled things and kicked tires and played with it for 20 minutes. And it was cold outside and his mother standing out there kind of walking around trying to stay warm, and everybody's getting a little more miserable by the minute, and they cannot get the car to start. And so he finally goes to his mother and he says, Mom, it's not going to happen. Why don't you just go home with the brother or come home with me? We'll drop you off, whatever you want to do. We'll get you back here. We'll get your car running tomorrow. And she's like adamant, no. Apparently she's some kind of a minister too. And she said, I have something I have to go and do. That was like all ministry, okay, the next day. And she said, I can't be tied up with not having my car. So they go back, and they're good boys, dutiful sons, right? They go back, they, woo-woo over the car some more, and it still won't crank, okay? And so finally he says, Mom, I can't, I gotta go home. It's time to stop doing this. The car's not gonna start. And his mother just gives him one of those mother looks. I think she's about 4.5 feet tall or something, She's a little tiny woman. And she gets in the car, and she does the laying on of the hands and the praying and the woo, the humming. Well, so what? Okay, we don't do that here, but why not? Okay, we do some touching. We've used oneness blessings. We've all been to a massage therapist, right? We know that touch has its place. Okay, she just started talking to parts of that car and talking to the thing that she understands as God, and that freaking car cranked for her. Okay, and she drove it around and did donuts in the parking lot until Joel was thinking he was going to get arrested. Make the headlines of, internationally known minister gets arrested at the airport for, because of his mother, right? So the car cranked. She knew in faith. She knew in faith. And her faith changed the nature of whatever was going on with that car. Okay? Her faith changed that. We have the capacity to look at lumps, to look at bumps, to look at, pink bank drafts that say you don't have any money and go, not real. I know false when I see false. We understand that when we treat, we're not hoping, we're not begging, we're not wishing, and we sure the heck don't plead. We know. We claim in form. We understand it to be here now. And we watch it unfold, sometimes in the most amazing of ways. And Ernest was clear that it was faith that drives this. Let me get my verbs current here. It is faith that drives this. Again, I go back to what's looking at you in the mirror. And what do you think about that? What do you think you are capable of? We were not set here to be little. We were not set here to be small. We were set here to be divine expression, unfolding in magnificence, every step of the way, every word. And all we are and think and do and pray. Yeah, it's because of this knowingness, that we can look at this process and understand those pieces of the science of mind symbol and understand how we can claim something and see it manifest in form, that we call this thing science of mind because it is scientific in nature. Ernest Holmes was as much a scientist as he was a man of the Spirit. He knew that if you proceeded in a certain fashion and you were conscious and clear and capable and you did not accept no, because the law doesn't accept no, that you could change your world, that you could change this world out there. So as we close, I took this from the textbook. This is Ernest. I don't try to read it as a book because I'm always afraid I'm going to kill the book when I handle it. He tells us, a new light is coming into the world. We are on the borderland of a new experience. The veil between spirit and matter is very thin. Now catch this. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. We have only to know. We have only to know that we know. And words and worlds will change. A new science, a new religion, and a new philosophy are rapidly being developed. Excuse me. This is in line with the evolution of the great presence, and nothing can hinder its progress. True thought deals directly with first cause. We deal with creation from the point of that creation. True thought deals directly with first cause, and this science is the study of first cause, of spirit, of truth, of that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself. And so when you take that in, just think, how can we be anything but whole? How can we be in any state for very long, but incredibly grateful for this simple way of life and the bounty that it holds? It's unlimited, and it's ours. We have only to know it, we have only to claim it, and we have only to live it. Namaste. I love you.